Hello STG builder, users, creators, hobbyists, etc. You're trying to make a shmup, and you want main and sub-weapon hit detection, or at least two different kinds of hit detection for your player shot. Come to the right place. So I've got right here an enemy that takes damage from two different sources and does two different things upon being shot or killed with the other weapon. So we're going to get in on how to make this a thing. You can use this for setting up like Ikaruga polarity weakness kind of thing. You can do blue revolver, like ammo weapons, making things explode into score. There's a lot of possibilities with this. Also, you can make a rock paper scissors weakness system where you have like one mediocre option, one option that does like nothing, and then one option that's really good. You can do that with this. So let's get on into that. So the basic theory of how this is going to work is we are spawning two halves of an enemy that are synchronized in terms of health, and only one half is rendered, that being the air half, because this allows you to mark it or distinct it as a air enemy via marking it for shadows or not, and also because of how the hit flashes work. When the ground enemy gets hit, it flashes the aerial. When the aerial gets hit, it flashes the aerial, but the aerial does not flash the ground half. So that's why we use the aerial half for that. Don't worry about copying everything one-to-one right now. I have a guide in the description to a Steam guide I made that has the nitty-gritty details on every single code block, so you can copy everything perfectly, and it should all just work first try, unless I screwed up on the images in order therein, but we'll figure that out as we go here. So just don't worry about copying. This is just a verbal explanation of how we're pulling this all off here. The main reason we're doing the ground and aerial distinction is because that's how you're going to separate your main and sub shot. The only purpose of ground and aerial distinction in this game engine is just to make it easy to make an enemy that can't be shot with, like if you were making a Xevious kind of deal. So you make an enemy that doesn't get shot by your main shot, and then you have the bombs that go to the ground and they don't hit the enemies in the air. That's the main purpose of this. But we're using it to create hit detection because it's the only thing we have. I've tried other methods and they don't really work. But this idea came to me from forgetting their name on the STG development server, Discord server. Dushka gave me this idea, and I just kind of like figured it out. So when these initially spawn in, we are spawning the other half, which is this character, the aerial hitbox, and then both of them are taking their life and putting it as variable 01, which is a local variable to each character. This is the health synchronizing value, and you need to initialize this or else it will just be 0 and the enemy will die instantly no matter what health you set it to. Both the life values need to be synchronized on the characters if you want this to work. So at the same time, when they first spawn in, they're taking their life value from their character parameters and turning it into a local variable 0, and then they broadcast that variable 0 as a signal to each other, and once they receive that signal, they compare it to their variable that they've locally made for their health and see if their health is greater than the signal. If their health is greater than the signal, they go, okay, I'm going to take that signal and put it in as my health sync variable and update my health to that variable. And then it goes back into this loop again. This is happening like every couple frames. It's polling. So on death of either half, they send a signal. The ground half sends a signal to itself, and the air half sends a signal to the ground signal. Both signals go to this little bit of code here, which is what's dictating your on death effects. If you're making just like a weakness thing, you can just do control receives control destroy. And you could even make it the same signal. But if you want things on death, you have to have two signals, one for each half. And you need to make it to where it's biasing the signal from this half. So that's why it's variable 01. And then you go to the signals, and variable or signal 01 is the first one being considered, because when either half dies, it's going to drop its signal. So you want it to be whichever one gets in there first to trigger, which is why I've done the bias. If you flip this around, I think it won't, like it will do like both things at once. But that's just how this is all working. So we're gonna save all that. So that's the theory. You want to make them all as an outline for you, or outline, a format for you to duplicate. So let me implement it to another enemy here. So we're going to duplicate. We're going to rename this to green guy base is in the enemy, and then green guy a hitbox. And then we're going to go to the scripts. I need to delete this. And we're going to duplicate the enemy base and rename it to green guy base. So once you have those duplicated and renamed, you can then go back and get your scripts open. Delete that. We're going to add the new green guy base copied script. And the aerial hitbox script does not need to be changed. This is universal. So here we're going to add our sprite. Enemies. Pattern number 1. Enemies. Pattern number 1. And the life value. And that has to be synchronized again, or else it will just default to 0. Like if you don't set it on the other one, it'll just default to 0 and it'll just die in one hit. So make sure you sync that up. Additionally, if it is an air enemy, you can click Draw Shadows at this point. So that way it casts a shadow. This is an air enemy, so if you need it to be a ground enemy, you need to make sure you go to the Z order offset here and place it down however many layers. I forgot how many layers there are in STG Builder. But you need to push it down so it doesn't like render above other air enemies like that you actually want in the air. It's a bit annoying, but you know, the things we do for hit detection. So once we're done getting all that synced up, we're going to go in here to user 1 and set the character, which is the air hitbox, so it spawns the other half. Additionally, I left the main open because it means when you have like a basic enemy, you can just go in here and grab the stuff here and just plop it in there. Boom. And you got your enemy behavior copied over. So we're gonna go to test here, drop the base in. Whoops, that's the wrong guy. This guy. So now we got 4, 5, because my weapon does 10 damage. And it's all working as intended. It's sharing the health and doing different things on death. So about the weaknesses, how you could implement this is I'm going to make it like very resistant to my main shot. Defense subtracts from the attack value that it's being hit with. So my attack is 10, so I'm cutting it down to 5. So my main shot is going to be half as effective now, because my main attack is an air attack. So yeah, very, very tanky, but then when I hit it with the sub-weapon, it's dying at the same speed. You can additionally make a air-ground attack. The player shot and player secondary are split to be different. They're using aerial and ground attack respectively, but you can also use aerial ground attack to make like a mediocre option. But you must keep in mind that it's hitting the enemy twice. So you need to keep that in mind with your damage calculations and defense numbers, so you don't like accidentally make the middling option very good. If that's your goal with like a rock paper scissors kind of damage solution. So like for example, you want it weak to the sub shot, but only take a little bit of damage from the middling weapon, and then the other attack type, you just actually, the middling shot would be like your main shot, for example. And then secondary 1, secondary 2, under aerial and ground. But you would make the middling shot do 10 damage, and then you put the defense on the side that the weapon that is not very effective, you want to put that at like 10. So that way it's completely blocking the middling shot, and it weakens the special weapon on that slot, but it still deals damage to the other side with the middling shot for 10, and the sub weapon you're using does really good damage. And like I said, you use this for polarity systems, where when you swap polarity, your shot turns from air to ground, and you have that kind of difference there. But I'm using this mainly for the blue revolver, like turn things into explosion of score items on death, or turn into ammo when you shoot them. That's my use case. In any case, sorry for my rambling. I hope you get a lot of use out of this. Be sure to click on that guide below in the description so you can actually see all the code modules individually, so you can see all the details. Copy it exactly, and hopefully it just works no frills. I've included a couple of common issues as well, and I will be updating those if any more are discovered. But have a good one.